welcome everyone to episode 2 of the From Surviving to Thriving video interview series, stories of real people overcoming real adversity. And today we have on the show Toni Leahy-Fripp, who I'll leave it to Toni to introduce herself and tell us a bit more about yourself, Toni. Who is Toni?
Thanks, Carly. You're starting with the hard questions. I guess I said, just on the practical side, I'm a single mum. I have 2 beautiful young men who are my sons. I live in Perth in Western Australia. I've just been fortunate enough to move up to the beautiful hills, it's just awesome up here. I pinch myself every day. I'm a career broadcaster. I'm transitioning into being a coach, and probably because of a lot of the things that have happened to me in the last few years. So it's it's been a wild journey, and but it's exciting. So so I'm leaving being working for somebody else and going into the slightly scary world of working for myself or having my own business. But it's a learning experience, and it's a growth experience. That's what's been really cool.
Yeah. And it's a scary, excited feeling that we're looking for, isn't it? When we know that something's really right to do. So you talk about kind of getting into it because you overcame challenges yourself. So talk to us a bit more about the adversity that you've gone through in your life.
I suppose the most significant thing is that I had an abusive marriage. It was not physically abusive, but in lots of other ways it was abusive. And I didn't even know. I didn't realize it. And it took me ages after. I mean, it took me way too long to get out of it, mainly because I just didn't. I was so overwhelmed by the whole thing. And not just the marriage, but by the whole situation. It was an overwhelmed situation that I got accustomed to. It took a long time and some counselling before I realised where I'd actually been and what it had kind of done to me, and the fact that just wasn't right. It wasn't normal. And so I suppose through lots of different counselling and talking to people.
What was the crutch point for you where you realised that actually, even though you thought it was normal for a while and you didn't necessarily see that there was an issue with it, what was the crutch point for you where you realised actually this isn't right?
There were probably a few that friends pointed out afterwards. Like that they've I can't think what they were. I mean, I could get into specifics, but people wouldn't believe how far it went before it got stupid. You know, I mean, to give details, I didn't kick my husband out till his girlfriend was 7.5 months pregnant.
Oh, wow.
You know, I mean, people would say, what, you know, but I've since learned that that's a point that you get to, that it's not, you know, in a big, when there's a violent relationship, like physical violence, when all of a sudden somebody hits you, then you possibly realize that this isn't right. I know that people don't just walk out after that. That's a whole nother subject. But when stuff creeps up on you, you just don't get it. You don't realize it. And I mean, I think the actual thing that made me really, really do something was when my oldest, who was only 10 at the time, I think, came to me and said, "Daddy's breaking my heart." And he said that to me twice. And that's when I realized things had gone way, way, way too far. And unfortunately, you know, actually ending the situation didn't end it, and it just made it worse for him, and it made it worse for both of them, really. And to the point where his little brother is not really in contact with me, and that's putting it mildly, but this is another subject. But that is actually the main stress in the whole situation, which has carried on years after this all happened. But I guess that's my sad story. That's the sad story. But the whole, there's a whole lot of growth in that. I've learned to. I mean, I had support at the time, but people who were well-meaning but had different things to say, and I was then kind of overwhelmed with lots of different bits of advice, and no one really close to me. So that's something that I mean, you can't necessarily change at the time, like all of a sudden, you know, not having anyone close to you, because I think that, you know, with family at a distance and never had a really, really close friend who's like right there with me the whole time, because I can see that quite possibly things would not have got anywhere near where they had if I did. But anyway, you can't.
But also a lot of the time in abusive relationships, and I've been there, you know, again, not physically abusive, but that manipulation and the breakdown mentally, I suppose, where your friends just don't hang around anymore because it's too much of a drama, or you are isolated from your friends because it's easier to do that than to talk about what's really going on, or, you know, or you just end up not spending time with them because your partner doesn't want you to. So in a lot of ways, a lot of people, I think, end up with really a very small or no support system at the end of an abusive relationship.
Absolutely. And my personal situation wasn't that. It was mainly that he was a domineering person. He dominated the whole situation, and because I was away from, this is not where I was brought up, and I've been in that. Geographically, I'm just isolated, and that's because it's just where I ended up. So, so the support thing really, it was a big, or the lack of support was a really big factor in what happened, really, I suppose. Yeah. So, but it took me such a long time to identify what was going on, and that was through counselling. And I was fortunate enough to have a friend recommend something she'd seen in the newspaper, where a local uni student was doing, I think, a thesis on recovering from abusive relationships. And she interviewed me quite extensively, and she was brilliant. I didn't have to explain so much stuff. She just knew what I meant when I said certain words. And then she helped me explore a whole lot of stuff that I've never talked to anybody else about. She was just really, really good at interviewing. I'd really like to see, that was a long time ago, and I'd really like to see what she discovered from all that. That would be really interesting, but haven't been in touch with her yet about it. So that really made me think quite a lot about a lot of things that had happened, and perhaps where I could go from there. So that was really useful.
I think that's a really important point, isn't it? Because we quite often, when we're in that situation, or any situation that's challenging, we feel really on our own with it. And when we speak to other people who understand it and understand the language, then all of a sudden you feel like you resonate with someone, and you think, oh, this happens to other people too, and other people do recover from it. And so what's my next step? So what was your next step after you went for counselling and spoke to and had the interview with that lady? What were the next steps for you?
I think that some of the things that I had, I continued to do stuff like exercise, which I had started before I actually ended my marriage. And I found that my gym, which was a women's only gym, that was kind of a refuge for me in really stressful times. Nobody knew what was going on, but it was just a really a kind of a haven, and just exercising that really helped too. The steps, it's taken a long time, and then, you know, there's been a bigger trauma since then, in losing contact with my son, and that's been an even bigger learning experience, because that's it's a situation that people don't understand and don't believe, and don't know how much that kind of thing happens. I don't really want to label it because there's a stigma on the labels, but that kind of issue where children are programmed by one parent in a high conflict split up, where children are programmed by one parent to reject and hate and abuse the other parent, that they've in the past had a really loving relationship with. That's something that most people can't talk about, because going public about it is detrimental to the future relationship or the relationship you're trying to keep or foster with your child that you've has been distanced from you. So that's been probably the biggest learning curve, and finding out, like you said, that there are so many people who are going through this, and a lot of people suiciding because of it, especially men. But to find out that there's this quite large but kind of almost underground community, and that's the wonderful thing about social media is Facebook. I mean, there's a lot of trauma out there, but I've learned to not take too much of that on board, and I guess know that everyone's journey is their own, and you don't necessarily, it might sound a bit callous, but you don't necessarily do yourself any favors by taking on board everybody else's trauma and kind of building that up and going, oh, woe is me, that's terrible.
Yeah. It just focuses more energy on what's terrible, doesn't it, rather than on what's right about it, you know?
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that's helped, I mean, the thing that's helped me the most has been coaching, but it's taken, it was me learning about coaching, because that's one of the things I turned to, was knowing that I would absolutely going to be, you know, responsible for my own welfare for the rest of my life. That there never had been, but it was really obvious that I'm going to have to do something, because I quit my permanent kind of government job in 1991 to be a stay-at-home mum, and that never worked out. So I still don't have a permanent job, and that's okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Because it's given me opportunities. It's kind of pushed me into opportunities that I wouldn't have looked at necessarily, and especially coaching. I've looked at a whole lot of different things, but coaching, I went to coaching for just to learn about what was going on, to learn about myself, and I found that, well, I started with kind of law of attraction coaching, and that, even though I haven't kind of continued along that, I still keep going back to that, and it's concepts that I've known about since my late 20s and haven't really kind of used a lot. So it's come back to me again. It's a big part of my life now. And then got more into practical psychology kind of coaching to try and understand the dynamics of the personal situations that were happening, and that's been a really big learning experience too. And through that, kind of coming in contact with a whole lot more people who are not more supportive, but supportive in different ways from the and I won't say past friends and stuff, because they're all still my friends. But a whole lot more people who are really who I can reach out to when I need to, and it's just so important.
Yeah, and I think reaching out is really important, isn't it? So what if there's someone watching this interview who's in a similar situation to what you used to be in? What words of advice would you have for that person?
There's kind of two situations I'm thinking of. I could say no. The first thing that comes to mind is know your own worth. You are worth it. You are a valuable person. That's not that easy to accept when, especially if you've been trained by, well, a less than supportive upbringing. That sounds even harsh saying that. Hopefully my mum's not going to see this. No, surround yourself with people, seek out people who will support you unconditionally, not in a way that suits them, but for your purposes. To spend time on yourself, spend a little money, even if you don't have a lot, look after yourself. And people said that for so long. They said, just look after yourself, look after yourself. I didn't actually really know how to do that.
And so how did that translate practically? Because you know, we all hear that, don't we, when in times of stress, when you need to go inside and look at yourself and do self-love. And what does that even mean? You know, when you're stressed out and you don't love yourself and you haven't been taking care of yourself and nurturing yourself, it's really hard to get a grip on what does that practically look like. So what did that practically look like for you?
Well, it wasn't an overnight thing, and it's still, I won't say I struggle with it because I don't like saying it. I still have to remind myself to do it. But I guess I've just, over a lot of time and with some help, have come to try not to feel guilty about not doing anything, or sitting out on my beautiful lawn and having lunch in the middle of, when I've been, like I did it on, you know, a whole day gardening, but go and sit out on the lovely lawn with my lunch and a glass of wine and just go, yeah, I did this. This is for me. And I deserve this, and I made this, I created this. It's really cool. I still have to, I listened to something the other day that said, be lazy. And I know that my mother used to go on at me all the time about, you know, that was a word that was a bad word. And that's taken ages to get over that.
Yeah.
So so it doesn't happen overnight.
It takes work, doesn't it? And discipline to even be lazy, to allow ourselves, knowing that rest period is still doing the work. It's us looking after ourselves. Yeah,
absolutely. And I used to, you know, people would say, oh, go and get a massage. And I go, oh, you know, I can't afford that. I haven't got the time, or that's just too much pampering, until I actually went to a therapist, like a physical therapist, who was making adjustments and doing acupuncture and all sorts of stuff like that. And he said, go get a massage. And I went, yes, Brian. Okay. I mean, that he said to me, you have to get massages. So it took, and that was only like a year ago. It took that long for me to actually realize that it's not a luxury. It's not, it is pampering, but you need to do that.
It's like taking your car in for a service, isn't it? Our body needs work like that too. Yeah.
We do that. Yeah. I mean, the things that we do for other people, the things that we do for just around the home and the car. Absolutely. It's a great analogy. It just, you go, oh, you know, it's preventative medicine. And it's not just physical preventative medicine, it's emotional preventative medicine. So, I mean, it's a long journey, and I've still got, you know, places to go. I've still got things to fix. But it's great fun learning, and I'm starting to learn to congratulate myself for giving myself time and giving myself stuff, or just buying flowers now and then. Or that's one thing that I do, because I've never been given flowers before, and I buy myself flowers, and I used to think, oh, it's a bit weird. But, you know, especially something that smells nice and lasts for a while in the house, that I'd walk into a room and I'd see some pretty flowers and I'd smell something and I'd go, yeah. I did that. I did that for me. And it's,
and not only that, but I deserve that.
Yes. Yes. I've worked for that, and I have worked hard. And I've got to stop that. That's a learning thing too. So, chill out more, chill out. Yeah. So I look around and I've worked myself into, I suppose it's conditional, but I've worked myself into a place where it is easy to chill out and be a bit lazy and look after myself. And things like something that's really important to me is music. So I make sure that I do get music on a regular basis. Something I did start doing a few years ago was I started putting aside a certain percentage of my income, for business, to start my business, because I was, you know, spending money on training and things like that. But I developed that concept into more as it's my personal development fund. So it doesn't matter whether I've spent all the money in my general bank account every week. I've still got some money that I go, nah, I can buy some music, or I can go out for lunch and call it business development or something like that. So that's really helped me, because it's in a separate account. It's not, you know, it's not so obvious, but it's there, and it's a resource that I trained myself into using for myself.
Oh, that's great.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So what, over that period of time up until now, what have been your biggest learnings about yourself, about life, about the world, that has shaped you into the person that you are today?
I think about, and this is just through the training that I've done, is on the practical psychology kind of stuff about people's needs and how we fulfill them, and how there are healthy ways and unhealthy ways to do that. And that's part of what I really want to help people discover for themselves. That's been quite an eye-opener. I've learned about some negative personality traits that I just hadn't been exposed to earlier on in life, that I probably wish I didn't know, but I'm a lot more aware of those kinds of people now. And but I learned a long time ago when I was trained as a counsellor as a young person, that not to judge, and it's not always that easy to get to that space, but I try to go there and say, well, you know, there's a good intention behind, and this is hard to accept sometimes, but there is a good intention behind everything that everyone does, and it's good intention to that person. It might be physically destructive, but even to them, but there's a good plan behind it. And sometimes looking at that, or helping somebody else to look at the good intention in the person they're having some kind of adversarial situation with, that can be really useful. So that's the psychology kind of stuff. What have I learned? I've learned things about myself. I guess I've learned more about what I like to do, what I haven't honoured in myself in my life that I'm starting to do, that I am a bit creative somewhere. It's taken me a while to see that, that I really want to help people. there's a whole language that was never in my life before that I'm actually starting to feel comfortable using, like the words like affection and passion and even emotion and all those kinds of things that were never part of my life before. So that's a growth situation for me, and that's one of the, I guess, the learning. Trying to remember the rest of your question. It was a big one.
Yeah, it was just more about what have you learned about yourself and the world and life through having gone through that adversity in your life.
Well, the life thing, we're here to enjoy it. We're here to have fun, and that sounds kind of childish and trivial, but it's not. It's actually not as complicated as we make it out to be. It's actually a lot more simple. And with the digital age we're in, and the multitasking and the overwhelm of so many things that really should be helping us, and they can if you use them properly. It's easy to get overwhelmed and not simplify things down to just not being driven by those tools, but use them to help you just
use them efficiently. Because we've never been more connected than we have been now. You know, like this morning I was talking to someone who was on Thursday. It was 6 a.m. Friday here for me, and it was 5 p.m. Thursday there for her, and in New York. You know, and we're not more connected. We've never been so connected, and yet we've never been so disconnected, because you've got couples going out for dinner and they're both on their phones, and it doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely. So we need to learn rules about that kind of stuff, but it's values as well. I mean, I didn't even know what values meant, and I've had to work out what my values are. I still don't know concrete for sure, but I've learned a lot about that stuff, about values. That's been part of the counselling and the coaching that I've done, and the personal development as well, of all the stuff that I've done. And learning to value myself, and work out the things around me that are better to value, but also the kinds of things that I do value. So I'm still a bit unsure about what value actually means.
Yeah, and it takes some time to figure that out, but our values also change over time as well, don't they? So it's a never-ending work in progress with that, I find. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
If you could go back, would you change anything?
I just splashed water on my glasses, but oh goodness. I could say I would, but I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for all the things that have happened. So it was kind of meant to be.
And that's really what I want to get across with this whole video interview series, is for people, you know, if you're really, really struggling right now, recognize that there is so much growth. Every struggle, every challenge is a growth opportunity. And so I've never met an amazing person who hasn't been through massive amounts of trauma before. And if you take it in the right way and know that this is all happening for a reason, you won't know what it is when you're going through it, but it is all happening for a reason. One day you might end up in a situation like myself, where you're coaching people through change and trauma because you've been there yourself. Or like, you know, Toni, can you imagine coaching women who are in the situation that you used to be in all that time ago? You know, we couldn't effectively coach from a space of not knowing, I don't think.
No, and it's funny, because going back a few years, before I realised how much stress I had actually had, and that was pointed out to me by a naturopath who did some iridology and said, 21 years of massive stress. I went, oh, wow. Really? And I just thought,
how it was from your eyes.
Okay, how? And so then I started realising where I was at. And then, but prior to that, I'd been trying to, you know, improve my life through personal development, and I'm avid follower or not follower, but I love Tony Robbins' work. And it seemed that everyone who has got somewhere in life has had some big trauma. There's no one who's kind of drifted along on easy street who's ever kind of climbed the great mountain. And I thought, do you actually have to go through a whole lot of rubbish to get anywhere? I thought, surely, is life really like that? Do we have to actually get stomped on a few times before we get somewhere? And I thought,
well, look at how a diamond is created, you know,
yeah.
massive amounts of pressure. And how could we possibly learn all these amazing things about ourselves and how resilient we are and all these tools to help us cope without actually going through crap? Why would we even get into personal development if we weren't going through stuff? We just wouldn't.
Yeah, because I wanted there to be an answer of yes, you don't have to go through all that stuff to have a great life. And in the meantime, realized that I actually had experienced a whole lot of stress, and therefore I didn't qualify anymore for being able to write that book, because I was no longer in a position to climb to the great heights from just easy street. So I still don't know the answer to that, but I think it is becoming, I guess, painfully obvious that, well, that we do have to go through stuff, or maybe people who aren't going through stuff really are, and they just don't realize it, like I wasn't,
because it becomes so normal, doesn't it, you know? And
I love
that quote, great things never come out of your comfort zone, or don't quote me.
I know what you mean,
but you know, the great things are outside our comfort zone, and sometimes if we're comfortable, something has to happen in our lives to make us uncomfortable so that we do grow outside of our comfort zone.
Well, that's it. Things don't change until the pain of staying where you are is greater than the perceived pain of what is going to happen when you do whatever it is that you want to do, but you're not bothering to. So,
Cool. Well, any parting words of wisdom for our listeners?
Chill out.
Have fun. Be lazy on the lawn with a glass of wine.
yeah, and have fun with it. With life, don't take it so seriously. Let's face it, none of us are getting out of it alive. I'm sure I'll think of a whole heap of things when we finish chatting, but yeah. I mean, I've got stuff that, you know, there are things that I wish I'd done differently, but through knowing that's how I want to be able to help people who are experiencing similar things to what I have. So
and so if there are listeners who want to speak to you about finding that help for themselves, going through a similar situation, then how can they get in touch with you?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not very public yet. I mean, find me on Facebook. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Yeah, I'm public on Facebook. So yeah, I'm happy to talk to anyone who's PM me. Find me on Facebook. Great.
And we'll put the link to your Facebook profile as well, so that people can find you easily. Yeah.
It's just my personal profile at this stage, but yeah, if you look my
name up, big things to come for you, Toni. Big things to come.
You're making me go public.
Sorry. Cool. Thank you so much for joining me today for episode 2. It's been really, really great talking to you, and I think our viewers will get a lot out of this and know that there's someone to turn to if they need to chat about their situation. So thank you for sharing your story and for being honest with us. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I will catch you next time for episode 3. If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me at coachcarly.com. And I've got a free Facebook group. If you're struggling right now, go to From Surviving to Thriving, and you can find me there for lots of tips and tricks on how to move forward. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today for my video interview series From Surviving to Thriving, stories of real people overcoming real adversity. If you're currently going through a situation that you're struggling to cope with right now, some kind of change or trauma in your life, maybe that's happened in your past and you're struggling to deal with, then I'm here for you, either via one-on-one coaching or through my online coaching program, From Surviving to Thriving, which I put together based on my own experiences of overcoming adversity and with the clients that I have worked with, helping them through their tough times. This is a combination of tools, quick and easy tools that will help you to transform your life, help you shift out of that negative mindset and into neutralizing those negative emotions so that you can cope with what's going on and create a better life for yourself. Head on over to my website, coachcarly.com, where you'll find all the information you'll need. And if you want to get in touch, feel free to do so via the contact page on my website. I look forward to hearing from you soon.